Welcome to the Anxious Love Coach podcast, a place for creating meaningful, conscious, secure, long-term partnerships. Here, we talk relationship anxiety and creating healthy, magnetic dynamics within partnership to help you feel confident and alive within committed partnership. My name is Natalie Kennedy, and I'm your host. I'm a relationship anxiety coach and meditation teacher. I've worked with hundreds of clients battling anxiety, and after experiencing extraordinary shifts in my own healing relative to partnership, now combine my lived personal experience and professional training to help others trust themselves within relationship and in their lives. I've been to the edge and back with my now husband from relationship anxiety and come out confidently to the other side. I want to pass the tools I've learned along to you to help you trust yourself in relationships and also create magnetic, hot dynamics with your partner. I believe lots of mainstream relationship advice today can make us anxious and dissatisfied. So let's jump in and normalize challenges that modern relationships and real people go through while also giving you tools to trust yourself, drop the shame, and alchemize your messy, twisted relational truths into profound inner wisdom and aliveness. If you haven't yet, be sure to join my communities over on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Anxious Love Coach. You can also request a 30-minute relationship anxiety assessment with me depending on availability, or ask me a question over on my website at www.anxiouslovecoach.com. I've also got a wonderful relationship anxiety meditation available to you as thanks for subscribing to my email list. Thanks for being here and enjoy this episode. Hello. Welcome back to the podcast and Happy New Year. I'm really excited to spend another year sharing stories and things that have worked in my relationship that can maybe work for you, maybe not. But in either case, thank you for being a listener. I'm so grateful to be a however big or small part of your life, whether we've just met or you've been a listener for a long time. I just want you to know that from the bottom of my heart, I'm very grateful to you. I am headed to Colombia this Friday, which is crazy, and things are a little crazy, so I'm going to try to keep this short as I've got a lot on my plate and I still want to show up. And I don't know if you can notice, I don't expect you to, but I no longer want to lug my super heavy mic across the world, so I am trying out a tiny little Rode mic that I bought, and it seems to sound good, so let me know if you guys like it. And if yes, then I can save myself a lot of space and bring more skincare and vitamins and supplements rather than a giant mic. I hope it sounds good to you. Anyway, in today's episode, I want to share how to ditch the comparisons in your relationship. When I was in my 20s, I had a lot of anxiety because I would look around at other couples, both in real life and also online, and I thought my relationship was falling short. And I no longer feel that way in the slightest. Actually, I kind of feel the reverse. I feel very lucky in comparison to all the noise I see online. And I sense that I'm able to cut through illusions a lot better. And for that reason, I feel very satisfied in my relationship, even though it has cracks. It's not perfect. It's messy. Relationships can be messy. But regrets that I have, how do I say this? I think that life is not about living with no regrets. It's really about choosing the regrets that you want. And while I don't have any regrets in choosing my husband, there have been sides of me or lives that weren't lived, and I had to grieve those lives. I had to live with certain regrets, although that's not quite the right word, but it's the closest word that comes to mind right now. I wouldn't choose anything different, and yet there is sadness around life paths that I didn't choose. So that said, I even though I've grieved life paths I didn't choose, I feel very grateful and grounded in my decision. And I want you to feel that way too. I think it's a bit delusional to imagine that you'll never ever have any regrets or doubts or sadnesses or griefs around the choice that you made. But I want you to feel grounded in your decision and to trust that you made a choice that is valid. And I think that's really, really important. So here's 5 tips to help you quit comparing your relationship. Number 1, eyes off your partner's work. Take your eyes off of what you think your partner needs to be doing. Whether that's changing their diet or changing their clothes or changing their habits or changing the way they speak or changing the way they relate to people, eyes off your partner's work and focus on the stuff that you are not actively focusing on that you know that you should be. If you are not exercising, start going to the gym. If you are not eating well, start eating well. If you're not sleeping, get enough sleep. If you have a social media problem, work on your social media problem. Take a look at all the ways that you keep saying you need to change and yet aren't, because that's going to humble you and remind you how difficult it is to change a habit. Focus on changing your bad habits rather than focusing on your partner's bad habits. This is going to humble you, and you're going to be able to offer more compassion and grace to your partner. And also, all that time and energy you used to spend trying to change another person, you will suddenly have way more energy to focus on things that actually bring you joy and actually could, like I said, bring you joy. The second thing I recommend that you do in order to ditch the comparisons in your relationship is to detox from all illusions. What I mean by illusions is things that are currently triggering you into comparing that are not actually based on reality. So if your trigger is social media, I recommend you do a social media detox and you stop accessing or giving yourself access to material that you could compare your relationship against. More than likely, once you get rid of these things, you will start to see your relationship and its beauty for what it is, and you won't be constantly comparing to a fantasy that doesn't exist. This also goes for things like porn. If you watch a lot of porn and you wish your partner looked like a porn star, or you keep wishing that your sex life felt like that from a porn scene, it's an illusion. It's a fantasy. It's never going to feel like that. So if you're finding your sex life to be disappointing, detach from porn if possible. I really believe it is. If you tend to watch a lot of rom-coms or movies or TV shows where they're constantly showing you unrealistic standards for marriage and relationships, detox from those for a while, maybe a week, maybe a month. I guarantee you that when you stop constantly engaging in fantasy, you will drop into the reality, and you're going to have a little dopamine crash for a little while, because we get dopamine hits when we engage in fantasy and it makes us very excited. But every time we come out of fantasy into reality, it's going to feel like a low. We're going to drop down and have almost like a withdrawal symptom, and we're going to think that our relationship's not enough, when in reality, if you're in a healthy, loving partnership, it probably is enough. You're just getting addicted to a fantasy, and your relationship's never going to live up to that. Now, the third thing you can do to stop comparing in your relationship is to actually focus on your self-care. Now, the beautiful thing is, once you do numbers 1 and 2, you take your eyes off your partner's stuff, you detox from illusion and fantasy, you're going to have a lot of free time. And what are you going to do with that free time? You're going to focus on self-care. Now, this is going to feel different for different people, so figure out what that means to you. Self-care to me looks like skincare, doing my hair and nails, doing my makeup, getting scrubs, shaving. It can also be reading before bed. It can also be getting enough sleep. It could be spending time with my friends and family. It can be home cooking. There's lots of things that mean self-care for me personally, things that nurture my soul, getting out into nature, nurturing my relationship to the divine, whatever that may mean to you. When this happens, I'm not going to be spending so much time and energy focusing on my relationship, and I'm also going to remember who I am outside this partnership and not dump all of my needs onto it. And ironically, when my partner doesn't feel so burdened for making me happy, he's actually able to give much more freely and enthusiastically, and his love for me is so much more felt and palpable, and I'm so much more grateful because I'm not forcing him to love me. He's doing it out of his own free will, which is so much more satisfying. Number 4, and this is kind of an extension of number 3, is to get happy, whatever that is going to look like for you personally. So rather than looking to your relationship to make you happy, recognize that nobody but God is going to be able to make you happy. Nothing but the divine or relationship with something beyond your physical form is going to give you that soul nourishing happiness that you're looking for. Whenever we do experience aliveness and joy in the context of partnership, it's usually because we're projecting a type of divinity onto that person. So recognize that what's making your relationship magical is not actually some inherent quality in the other person. It's the magic that you yourself are infusing into the relationship. So get happy first, and then you'll find that your relationship just mirrors that joy back to you. Don't be in a miserable place looking for your partner to rescue you. And number 5, this is my last point. Cultivate an attitude of gratitude. What you water grows. So if you are constantly focusing on how your partner's not enough and you're constantly comparing and wishing they had this, or wishing they didn't wear Crocs to your family dinner, or wishing they didn't pick their nose by accident in front of your brother, or wishing that they spoke a bit more eloquently, not to say that I haven't done these things. I certainly have, and it's embarrassing. And even I still do this time to time, and whenever I do, I try to remember to apologize, to be honest. But as soon as we start focusing on what's not going right, it can be easy to lose sight of what is going right. So remember that gratitude and enjoying your relationship is not something that just naturally happens. I think our nervous systems are wired to search for threats because that has helped our species survive. So you know that you are wired to look for things that are going wrong because that has been essential to our species' survival. But we no longer live in a survival state, and more than likely, if you're with a loving, kind partner, you don't have to worry about survival anymore. You have the luxury of now actively looking for things to be grateful for, and it's not going to feel natural and it's not going to feel inauthentic. I know. And are there times when it's not worth it? Yes, but I'm speaking to what I believe is a large majority. You're in a loving partnership. There's no abuse. You guys have compatible values. You have a compatible vision for the future. Personally, for my husband and I, we both have agreed that love is not enough in a relationship. We certainly love each other, but we didn't marry for love. We married for a vision, and love is something that we've chosen to grow and cultivate. But it's, in a way, it's kind of liberating to not have infatuation be a variable that's extremely important, because guess what? When we have kids, the first few years are going to be tough, and we already know that, and we've already agreed that even if feelings go out the window the first some years, we're going to hang in there because we know that the feelings are fickle. And so we're looking for something that's bigger than emotions, and that means we want to build a legacy, and we want to have a home, and we want to raise a family, and we want to impart certain values. And this is actually what keeps us going. And ironically, now that we're not fussing about whether we're infatuated or not, we feel so much more sturdy. And what's interesting is our love has been able to blossom since we've kind of adapted this worldview. So I'm not saying that this worldview is for everybody, but I truly believe that when you focus on what you're grateful for in the relationship, you will continue to find more. The more you focus on gratitude, the more you discover what there is to be grateful for. So if you start with those and you just make those 5 changes, I firmly believe that you will stop comparing, because you will find that comparison and is the root of so much suffering. So just to recap, number 1, to ditch the comparisons in your relationship, eyes off your partner's work. Stop focusing on trying to change them. Number 2, detox from illusion and fantasy. Take a social media detox, take a porn detox, take a fantasy, whatever detox. Number 3, with all that free time you just freed up for yourself, focus on self-care. Where are you lacking in your self-care? Can you eat better? Can you sleep better? Can you spend more time with your friends? Can you nurture your social life? What do you need to do to take better care of yourself? Number 4, get happy. If you're miserable, what needs to change? Is it your career? Change something so that you move in the direction of empowerment and out of powerlessness. And number 5, start cultivating an attitude of gratitude. What's going well, and can you not only see it, but name it? Tell your partner what you're grateful for. Let them know that you appreciate what they are doing. See what happens if for a moment you hold your criticism, and maybe in another episode, or I've spoken about this in episodes past, you can focus on what you desire as opposed to what your partner isn't doing enough of. And maybe I'll talk about that in another episode. But for now, see what it feels like to name something you're grateful for, rather than finding a criticism. I guarantee you it will take you so much further. So that's it. We are starting, me and 25 plus other women are starting my women's group program in just a few short weeks. We start on January 19th in Both Feet In Abridged. I ran Both Feet In a couple years ago, and I'm running it again in a condensed version. And if you are a woman in partnership who has one foot in the relationship and one foot out and you're afraid of commitment, this program's going to help you a lot. We're going to be doing a lot of parts work. If you've got one foot in, one foot out, chances are you've got a part of yourself that wants to be in the relationship and a part of you that doesn't. And believe it or not, this program it's a relationship anxiety program, but it's not at the same time. This work that I'm teaching you is something that is actually bigger than relationship anxiety, but we're using relationship anxiety as kind of the trailhead that takes us to a place that's much bigger. And my hope is that you can use relationship anxiety to expand your consciousness and to learn how to work with not just the tension between the part of you that wants to leave and the part of you that wants to stay, but what I really desire to teach you is how to work with all tension inside of yourself. Tension between parts, tension in your body, tension in a conflict with your partner. Tension really just means opposites that are not in harmony yet. And if you can learn how to alchemize tension and learn how to sit in the discomfort and transform pain to pleasure, disconnection to connection, from war to peace, you are going to feel unstoppable, not just in your relationship and marriage, but really in any category of your life. You will step out of feeling like a powerless victim in your relationship and be able to make empowered decisions that you can go to bed of feeling proud of. I remember for such a long time, maybe a couple of years, I would wake up next to my partner, my now husband, Preston, and I would just feel so much dread, thinking, oh my God, another day where I don't feel attracted to this person. And I felt so bad about myself. And there were just so many things back then that I didn't understand. And really, Both Feet In Abridged is a course that I'm making for a past version of myself. So if a lot of my stuff resonates with you, we're going to be going really deep. We're going to be meeting 3 times a month, and there's going to be an online course that I'm building out beside it. So module 1 is already up. I'm planning on releasing module 2 in sometime this week. So you can already start jumping in early. And we'll start on January 19th with an opening ceremony. And from there, we're going to meet 3 times a month. Twice, we're going to meet for meditation. I'll be partnering you guys up so that you can practice these practices with each other. And we'll also have a group coaching session as well. So it's going to be really beautiful. I think it's going to be sacred. I'm deeply reverent for this group that we have already. I'm amazed that we have almost 30 women. But if you feel called to join us, I'll put the link in the show notes so that you can join us. And that's it. I also have a call coming up on January 21st at 11 a.m. Pacific time on Patreon. So if you are interested, I'll be doing an embodiment practice and a Q&A on that day. And I also post terrible relationship advice weekly. Sometimes the terrible relationship advice is something I've heard or it's something you've sent me. I really enjoy doing these. I've been asking you guys to send me stuff that you find online that is either triggering or needs more nuance. They're really fun for me. So keep sending them my way. I really appreciate it. And hopefully I'll see you on the 21st for Patreon. So that is it. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I tried to keep it short because I got to get back to packing. But I thank you again for listening, and try those things. And if you haven't subscribed, be sure to do so and let me know what you thought of this episode. Thanks. Talk to you soon. Thanks so much for listening to The Anxious Love Coach today. If you loved this episode, please hit that subscribe button, leave a review, and follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, and maybe share it with someone that you believe might benefit from these perspectives. Please also subscribe to my email list at www.anxiouslovecoach.com, as I'm trying to reduce my reliance on social media. In exchange, you will receive my free relationship anxiety meditation and more supportive tools sent your way. If you would like to work with me, head on over to my website at, again, anxiouslovecoach.com to explore different tiers of coaching options and online programs. Thanks again for listening, and catch you in the next episode. Have a blessed day.